born in Houston in the 80s. I never really thought about my upbringing as something significant that really contributed to conciliation or reconciliation. So, but I grew up in Houston, and then, no, let me back up. I was born in Houston. I grew up in New Orleans. So my father was from Texas. My mother was from Louisiana. So I was born in Houston, and I spent my early childhood years in Louisiana.
How was that?
It was nice. It was decent. It's decent.
So was it Third Ward? You're from in Houston? Did you ever
No, I'm from Acres Homes, but
Right.
I went to TSU for a semester.
Okay.
Yes. So, but I think that if we're talking about a incidence of discrimination, if I had to recall an event, it would have been when I went to college. And I think my upbringing prepared me for that. So I graduated from high school in 1998. And I started college. So I graduated May of 98. I started fall of 98. A year prior to me finishing high school, James Byrd was killed in Jasper, Texas. He was strapped to tied to the back of a pickup truck and drugged and beheaded. So, and this was, so I arrived in Nacogdoches about 20 miles east of Jasper a year after that happened. And you know how they are commemorating the birth, I'm sorry, not the birth, the event. They were commemorating the event. And mainly, so the New Black Panther Party was there protesting. You know, just saying that we are standing in commemoration and solidarity and in recognition that this happened, in memory. And I think the two gentlemen, the two white guys who had committed this crime, they were incarcerated. Charges were pending, but nothing had happened. And I don't even know if they were incarcerated, to be honest with you. I can't recall because it's been over 20 years ago, or about 20 years ago. So, but that was going on. And so I went to Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches. And I lived in Griffin Hall, which is the dormitory right there on 59. And across the street from my dorm, it was a McDonald's. I don't know if it's still there. But there was a McDonald's, and there were different groups just popping up all over East Texas. But this particular day, it was the New Black Panther Party that was standing in front of the McDonald's with signs and different things, because that's a highly traveled highway. So they were there and they were protesting. And I think, and I don't remember what the protest was about, but I think the protest was in regards to ensuring that these two individuals are prosecuted for hate crimes against James Byrd. Anyway, so they're there, they're doing their thing, and here comes the Ku Klux Klan. And some were robed and others weren't. And it was truly a shock to my system. I couldn't believe it that in 1998, you still have the Ku Klux Klan organization is still alive. It's still living. It's a breathing thing. It's not a myth. It's not a mystery. And some of them were in white and others weren't. And they were protesting just like the Black Panther Party. So I'm a city girl. I'm from Houston and New Orleans. I don't know nothing about all of this. So I get on the phone and I call my parents. I'm like, y'all not gonna believe this. But I think more than anything else, I'm just in a state of shock and disbelief because growing up in school well, let me back up and let me say, both of my parents were members of the Black Panther political party. So my mother's sister had actual membership. She was a leader in the New Orleans chapter of the Black Panther Party. And my father, who was a Vietnam veteran, when he returned from Vietnam, he lived in California. He joined the Oakland chapter. So, and my mother, and my parents didn't know each other at this time, but my mother, because her sister had a leadership role in the New Orleans chapter of the Black Panther Party, she assisted her sister in her duties and obligations, responsibilities. So I knew what the Black Panther Party was about, and I heard about the Klan and the various things that they had done over the years, but it wasn't really until I saw this with my own eyes that it really became real. And what it taught me was, girl, you in East Texas. And this is America, but this is East Texas. And it's not like you're not in Houston, you're not in New Orleans, and these things could happen in these cities as well. We've seen what happened in Charlotte. So my mother sent my father to come get me. So I left, right? I didn't stay gone, but I left until all of that died down. So after that was over, the protesting, the show of supports, I went back to school and finished that semester, finished the year. And when I went to SFA, I went on a Welch Science Scholarship. Well, I decided I didn't want to major in science. I did not want to be a chemist. That's the scholarship I had. That was my major. I wanted to do something different. So that summer, I decided to stay and take summer classes. So I stayed that summer, and I think this is where my personal incident of discrimination happened. So I moved out of Griffin Hall into a house with 4 other females, a 5-bedroom house, 4 other females. And they were looking for a roommate, and so I applied and I got in. It was a summer thing. So I found this place to live, so I moved in to take summer classes. It was cheaper than paying room and board on campus. And I don't remember how much the rent was, but it was affordable. So I moved in, and it was the summer, and I was taking classes, and I was doing what you do in the summertime, right, trying to enjoy summer. And I had never gone to summer school before either. So and I think after that, I don't know if I ever did it again, except for when I went to Ohio. But long story short, I moved in to take classes because I wanted to take different classes, not the sciences and the maths and the Englishes, but I wanted to really try to take some other courses because I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. And so I wanted to take maybe like an anthropology course or sociology course or just something different, right? political science. I thought I wanted to be an attorney. I really did. So I'm taking these other courses, and I'm living in this house, and I'm getting along with my roommates, but I'm going back and forth from Houston to Nacogdoches when on the weekends and various things like that. So I left. It was a Friday, or maybe it was a Thursday. I can't remember. And I woke up, and it was a bag on the porch. And the bag looked like it had been set on fire, or I don't know what it was, but it was something peculiar about a bag on our front porch. And when I woke up, it was peculiar in the house. It was like a dark cloud over the house that particular morning, and I was getting ready to leave town. But all I know, I never figured out what was in the bag. But all I know was a bag with a note on it that appeared on our front porch. My roommates never shared with me the content of the bag or the context of the note. So I assume it was something racially motivated. Because again, I'm in Nacogdoches, Texas. And I live in a house. And it wasn't even a bunch of white women in the house. It was a mixed crowd, right? It was a Hispanic, it was an Asian, I was a black girl, and it was 2 white girls. So, but as far as skin color goes, I had the darkest skin. So, so that was that. That was, and I was young, and I didn't know how to respond or to react. And remember, I said my parents was Panthers, and so and I've always been transparent and talk to them. They've been my support system. So I just have conversations with them about what's going on in my life while I'm at school, and they was like, "You got to get from up there. We got to get you from up there." Now, I didn't share this with you. Before, when I graduated, I had a scholarship to go to Jackson State to be in the marching band, to play the flute. But my mother said, "You're not going to Jackson, Mississippi." She said, "You're not going to Mississippi, period." She said, "You're going to go on up there to East Texas and do that chemistry thing, and we'll figure it out from there." So at that, I think that it was a difficult time in my life because I was finishing up high school, going to college, and it was the late 90s, and things were changing politically. And so after that happened, so I finished my classes that semester, and I wound up moving back to Houston. I wound up staying at, transferring to Texas Southern. That's where I was there for a semester. I stayed there for a semester, and then I went to the University of Cincinnati in Ohio. So I got up out of Texas. I left Texas. And I think that those were really personal incidences where I can recall racial tensions, although it was never, well, I guess it was blatantly in my face, but it wasn't personal towards me. It was just what was going on in the environment around me and how people perceived my presence. And I think because I grew up in an era in the 80s and 90s where it was very community driven, maybe not as community driven as the 60s and 70s, but still very much community driven. If people didn't tell you were poor, you didn't know you were poor. When I grew up, I mean, everybody was poor. So, but it was a lot of love. And so I never really experienced any differences, even though we always talked about it. It was always, you can't do what that person does because you're black and she's white, or he's black and you're not. And so that was always a reality for me. So I knew it, but I never had to come face to face with it while I was growing. And then I think I always had that protective factor, my parents, family, those types of things. And now I'm out here on my own, and now I got to navigate this space. And I think I was prepared. I had assistance.
Do you think the Black Panther Party sort of shielded you from what was? Well, since your parents were a part of the Black Panther Party, do you think that kind of shielded you from knowing what else was out there? And what kind of experience did you feel like once you saw the experience, like how did that really make you feel once you saw it?
No, I think it raised my awareness. I think because of that, because I had parents who were politically conscious, because the whole idea behind the Black Panther political party was for black folks to have equal representation, just like the Democrats, just like the Republicans. It was a political party, just like the Libertarians and the Green Party. And it was undermined by the federal government. It never really, and it was also, they also provided social programs. It was also a social organization because they saw a need and they attempted to meet that need with the breakfast and the after-school care and those things. However, I do think that because I had parents who grew up during the Jim Crow era, right? During that, they were born into Jim Crow in the 40s and 50s, that was their reality. And so because that was their reality, my reality was hearing about their reality. And so I kind of knew that this was, it's not really about me. It's about how people are maybe intimidated by me or don't understand me or don't want me to be around. So my consciousness was awakened. I knew that, yes, it's a whole lot going on around here.
It's great to actually hear. Actually, it's kind of sickening to hear that the KKK was around, but the fact that you got to see that next to a powerful group like the Black Panthers, it's just the visual. Mm-hmm. So tell me, taking back to that moment, how would you react it differently than how you reacted out of shock?
I don't know if there could have been another reaction. So 20 years later, had I seen that, I think my response would have been the same, quite honestly. I still would, but maybe not get on the phone with my mama, but maybe take some pictures with my phone or something, and post on social media. But just to say or show the juxtapositioning of these two competing ideologies and how, it's really about justice. And I think everybody in who were thinking, had compassion towards James Byrd, really wanted those individuals to be prosecuted. They were going to be prosecuted, or are they prosecuted for manslaughter or murder versus a hate crime was the issue. And I think the Black Panther Party was saying this is definitely a hate crime, is racially motivated. Whether you playing a joke, whether you are doing it as a dare, to tie somebody up to the back of a pickup truck and drive off and they get decapitated, that is hate. And then the white nationalists, so we can go black nationalists or white nationalists, however you want to describe them, categorize them. Their thing is just manslaughter. They just was, they made a mistake acting stupid. So, but ultimately, it was a hate crime. That's what it boiled down to. And, now that I think about it, that group shouldn't even been out there. Because they did what they did. And we know I know, but there's different degrees of intent. You might not intend it to decapitate them, but your actions were negligent, reckless, purposeful, and that happened. So you're going to be charged with a hate crime.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
There's questions on the...
I know I saw them. You answer, you talk about it, and then you tell how you feel, which is what we really want you to kind of visit is how did that make you feel? But other than that,
Oh, but I was disturbed by it, definitely. So, just in addition to being in a state of shock, I was definitely disturbed by it. I felt betrayed by, with the incident at the house, I felt like my roommates, they wanted to protect me. So I felt like this well-intentioned pity or protection. And now I thank them for it now, but then I wanted to know what the note said and what was in the bag. And because I didn't know, I was distrustful. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know, maybe they thought I was weak, maybe they didn't think I could handle it, or maybe it was just that bad. So I definitely felt some type of way, as we say, and a kind of indescribable apprehension.
how do you think that impacted your life from SFA, seeing that bag on the porch, to you sitting here or being a professor at a university?
It just showed me people's levels of ignorance and the hate that exists in the world, and encourages me to not operate in hate. Although sometimes it's difficult because that's what we see. That's what, in media. We know that we're supposed to respond the most loving way. But it's difficult to do when you don't feel like loving. I don't like you, so how I'ma love you? You know what I mean? So, but I think that my roommates, they did the most loving thing that they knew how to do at the time. And I appreciate it now. I didn't then, but now I do.
That's awesome. How do you think that we could prevent, what do you think that the government could do to prevent something like this, hate crimes happening, especially in East Texas? What would be the next step?
Well, I think we have to invest more in our rural communities. I do believe that. I think that, and even though it's not, we don't make the same type of investments in rural America that we make in urban and suburban America as far as infrastructure and different things like that goes. But we should invest more, and so let the communities identify what it is that they need. So we can have more education in these rural parts of towns. We can have more support services and resources in these areas, more access to hospitals and different things like that. But I think the isolation, geographical isolation, and people, oh, that's the country. Well, it may be the country, and it's something to be said about country living. However, we don't have to have these country mindsets or mentalities. We can have elevated and educated mentalities and not these ignorant ideologies, these ignorant belief systems, and exposure. You only know what you're exposed to. Oh, I didn't share this with you. I was traveling and stopped in North Dakota, South Dakota. I was going to, I don't remember where I was going. I was going to California. I don't know how we was up that way. And the plane had to stop because it was low on fuel or something like that. So we stopped in North Dakota or South Dakota. I can't remember where. No, I think I was going to Canada. I can't recall where I was going, but I know I had to stop in South Dakota or North Dakota. And it was at a small airport, and we had to change planes. And I was, you know how you're on the tarmac and you get off the plane and folks just look. And so it was one white person that just kept looking at me. And I said, well, what's up? He said, I never saw a black person before. I say, you got to be kidding me. I thought he was lying. He said, no, not in real life, not face to face. And this was in like 2000. So, but there are some parts of America that it's really homogeneous. You can go to some parts of Wisconsin and Idaho, and it's white. They don't have black people. Alaska. So
Oh goodness! Oh wow! So did he answer why he never seen like?
Cause they just ain't never no black people in that town.
His town?
No, he never had a reason to leave.
And now he's going to Canada.
No, I was on my way. I was going north. We had to stop at that airport in that town. Mm-hmm. So, but he said he had never saw a black person in person before, like on TV, but not in real life.
How did
and I think we just saw that in our recent election. We're going to have these two Americas. We're going to have these very liberal and progressive and forward moving and thinking Americas that's really diverse, and then you're gonna have the other Americas that's really white.
What was his reaction when he saw you?
He just was he had never I just hadn't it was he wanted to see a black he saw a black he had never seen a black person. It was okay, this I say it ain't nothing to see. We regular, we just like y'all, just we got melanin in our skin, that's it.
That's it.
We just got a little complexion going on.
Right. Did he get to experience your personality for himself?
I guess he did. I don't know.
That's awesome. So, it was, to clarify, it was TSU's porch, not SFA.
No, it was, I was in Nacogdoches, and I lived in a house in Nacogdoches. It was the summertime, so it was summer school.
Okay. And then the TSU event that was?
It was no TSU event. It was when after that happened, my parents said, no, I wanted to stay. My parents said, no, girl, you can't stay. You got to come home. We've been to hurt somebody up there. Right. It's going to go down in East Texas if you stay up there. So come on back to Houston.
They heard Jackson, Mississippi. They said no. They said, you're going to go to Nacogdoches. But I know that was probably like a scholarship that paid, like the whole...
Yeah, it was a partial scholarship. It wasn't even a full scholarship. My band scholarship was a full scholarship.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It was the full scholarship, but they said no.
I could have been part of the marching jukebox.
So, how do you feel like your religion plays into it? Like, how do you feel like...
Well, back then, I didn't think it had any impact at all. As a matter of fact, for about maybe 2 years, I despised organized religion. I just did, because it forces you to choose. You got to select, you got to pick a side. But this is when I didn't really understand what it was all about. I mean, but growing up, I would say I grew up religious, meaning I went to church. I don't know if I was a Christian per se, because my behavior didn't reflect Christianity all the time. But I think that it played a large part in it, just subtly, unconsciously or subconsciously, it did.
Yeah. You expressed that we know that we're supposed to do things out of love. Do you think that it came from some sort of knowledge of moral or religion or ethic that you've been taught or you've known?
Yeah, I absolutely think that came from just upbringing, whether it and all of those morally, religiously, and ethically. You treat people like you want to be treated, and you want to be treated with love, kindness, dignity, and respect, and so that's what you extend to other people, even if they don't extend it to you.
Exactly. Oh, goodness, dropping some gems. Okay. So, as for because I've never seen Ku Klux Klan before.
They look regular.
They regular people. What would you advise some of your students that come into contact with these two political parties fighting for justice, and how would you...
I would advise my students to know themselves. You know what I mean? Know yourselves. Do a lot of self-reflection. Do a lot of self-evaluation. Do a lot of critical analyses of your belief systems, of your morals, of your values. Do you believe in this because this is something that you hold near and dear, or do you believe in this because this is what somebody told you to believe in? And so I encourage them to do a lot of that because, I had to. I mean, why? I'm not supposed to like what? Like who for what? No. So I had to do a lot of coming into my own. And when you do, it shapes how you respond. It shapes how you respond. They might align with, I can't be a nationalist. I'm like Cornel West. He said I could never be a nationalist because I'm a Christian. So I could never be a nationalist because I'm a Christian. And so I believe in the love of Christ over anything else. So, but that's for me. They have to know themselves and know once you make that decision, you got to live with it, you got to deal with it, and keep yourself safe. It's about safety.
It is. It is. So, with the First Amendment being freedom of speech, what law would be passed from kind of suppressing white nationalism and not necessarily their voice but their intent?
I don't know if we can legislate hate, if you know what I mean. I don't know if there is any legal arm or legal strategy we can do to suppress the way someone believes, thinks, and feels. With that being said, I don't know if the response is to pass a law, to pass an ordinance, to pass a statute that says you can or cannot do X, Y, Z. However, I do believe in community organizing. I believe in, but not. So I follow Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, and I think institutionally. So I think. So I don't think like most community organizers. I think like IAF organizers, where you use your institutions to change policies because institutions have organized people, and organized people can change policies and minds. And so they can teach a lot. They can advocate a lot. They can educate a lot. And so I don't think that there's anything we can do as far as a policy goes. That's just my opinion. I do, however, think that we can use our churches, our schools, our synagogues, our mosques, our neighborhood associations, our teachers associations, our Little League, our basketball leagues, our sporting leagues, our Greek and fraternal organizations, sororities, to really teach and educate love and display it and practice it.
I'm trying to guess some question on the back that I haven't already gotten to. So you did elaborate on talking about you talking to your parents about everything, and
Mm-hmm.
who else have you, when it comes to you experiencing the racism, who else have you confided in and why?
Oh, all my good girlfriends growing up. Oh my goodness. All of my high school, so it was in high school, I had like two separate groups of friends. I had my band friends, and then I had my ROTC friends. I don't know why. But my band friends, one of them, she went to Stephen F. Austin as well, and the others didn't. And so I told them what happened, and then I told my ROTC friends, and they were. So my one friend, she was in the Navy, and she was like, oh, and growing up, they called me Sue. That was my nickname. She was like, oh, Sue, I can't believe you experienced that. And so we talked about it. And then I had another friend who, she didn't go to college or the military. She just went to work. She got a, job right out of high school, good job, working for the energy company. And we talked about it. And so we, just childhood, well, these are lifelong friends now, but we talked about it. Some of them, aren't here, they died, but I shared that with them. But then that goes back to my upbringing, just forging good relationships and investing in relationships, not one night stands.
Right.
we in this.
Right. How did they feel?
Oh, they empathized with me. They were like, what you need? I can't believe you went through that. They were in a state of shock and disbelief. They had a lot of questions, and some I could answer and others I couldn't.
My little sister actually went to SFA last semester, and it made her uncomfortable. She's now at TWU.
Okay.
So just hearing how you experienced that at SFA, the campus is clearly taunted.
Yeah, it hadn't changed. Yeah.
So, and the Griffin dorms are also still there. So, as soon as you were talking about that, I just painted that whole picture. I was just like, the McDonald's is still across the street.
Okay, yeah, you know what I'm talking about
Right,
then.
right.
You know what I'm talking about.
So I saw it all.
And a colleague of mine, he teaches criminal justice in Corner Word. He used to work at Stephen F. Austin, and he left there. And he didn't have a good experience. But I do have colleagues they love it. I have a colleague there now. He loves it. He want to do research, and maybe we will. I don't know. But so I can't say anything bad about the situation, about the institution. I just know my experience in Nacogdoches wasn't a good experience.